Hi there. I felt like doing a bit of a different card today. I got fed up of doing the normal rectangular base card of different orientations, so I was going to do a cutout card on the front. And here I've kind of cut out a cloud shape, and I'm just cutting around it now. And that's just on the front of the card, so the back of the card is just the normal rectangle. But you could cut through both to make the whole card that cloud shape as well. So I'm just touching up here. And I'll also go over it and rub out any pencil markings that I've left. So just to give it a bit of definition, I'm just going around the cloud shapes in a slightly darker pink than the base card, and I've gone around the whole of the front in that as well. And here I'm just using some I think they're called white chocolate chip letters from Basic Grey. And I'm just going to colour them using that grey ink from that stack of inks, the colour box inks that I was using earlier to go around the edge of the card. So I've just stuck them on a piece of scrap paper just to give it somewhere to hold them while I'm putting the grey ink on them. But the dot of the eye seemed to be a real troublemaker, but eventually I managed to get all the colour. We put quite a bit of colour on. Now these inks don't dry that quick, so I was able then to put some clear embossing powder on them, because I find this ink doesn't dry very well on these letters at all. So it's just easier just to quickly emboss them. It gives them a nice shine and it gets them dry. So then here I'm just attaching a bit of ribbon. I've already decided in my head where I'm going to put the ribbon and the layout of the card. So I'm just going to thread it through the hole I've made in the fold line of the card. And I'm just going to tie a knot in the ribbon. You could tie a bow, it's entirely up to you really. It's just personal choice. And then just snip off the ends of the knot just to neaten them up there. Sorry the video's gone so fast here, but this card took quite a while, so I had to either cut loads off or speed it up. So here I'm just sticking on the letters. If I was doing this again, I would have started with the L and worked from the edge of the card inwards, because it gives you a better idea of a spacing, but it actually worked out okay, luckily. But there's definitely a tip for you. And also I had to stick the ribbon down because it kept bouncing. It kept bouncing up off the card. The writing, the girl writing, kept bouncing up off the base card. And again, if I was doing it, I would do that first. Now these stamps are foam stamps. They were very, very cheap. I think I got them for about £2 for the whole alphabet. I was going to do them in like a pink ink, a dusky pink ink, but I didn't want to use a coloured ink with them, because as soon as you use a coloured ink with foam stamps, whenever you use them after that, they will always have that colour impression in them. So I always just use Versamark with foam stamps and then colour over either using chalk or just emboss them in a different colour. And you can see here this watermark ink, it's really sticky and it gives a good impression, and I'm going over it now with white embossing powder, but I could have just used some clear embossing powder and it would have given me that darker pink, but I'd changed my mind by this point and gone for the white. I do that a lot. So I'm just flicking off the excess and then heating it up. You can see just there now how it's changing colour. Make sure it's all heated really well. Here I decided that I was going to use a flower on it, but I changed my mind and thought about using a button, but I didn't have a very big button, so I thought I'd try and make one. So I just punched out a circle, small circle, and then punched out two even smaller circles in the middle of this to create that faux button. And here I'm just using Ultra Thick Embossing powder to create a big glossy button effect, if you like. you have to use the Ultra Thick Embossing powder, otherwise you don't get the raised 3D effect that I was looking for. If I was going to do this again, I would emboss the button so that it had some raised and lowered effects on it, so it didn't just look like a flat button, but I thought it was a good enough effect anyway. So you just keep repeating this process until you're happy with it, and you'll see just here now that it's quite 3D effect, and that's done. But be careful, it's very hot when you first finished with it. I'm just going around the edge here to give it a bit of definition against the pink card, and I just used some black stays on because you know, on the Ultra Thick Embossing powder it's the only thing that would have dried, but you could have done this before you started embossing it just on the card. So I'm just threading this now with a bit of white linen thread. I went round it twice and then tied it in a bow at the front, but you could just do a knot, you could tie it at the front and pull it through to the back and cut it off. You can do all sorts, but I wanted to make sure that it was more obvious that it was a button. So then I just stuck this down with a glue dot. I think I used a couple of 3 glue dots here in the corner, and then I was just going around with a brown marker, and I put in a pattern around the very edge of the card. I used a dash and a circle and just repeated that pattern throughout the whole around the whole frame. Here I'm just writing welcome. I did mess it up a bit when I went over it in the pen. The pen kind of caught and it wasn't as smooth as I wanted, but it's a handmade card, it's not meant to be perfect, and it's obviously handwritten, so what the hey. Now here I've just put some inside backing paper in just to give that front a bit of a lift on the back. Now the video does cut off at the very end, so it doesn't show the last bit of this, but basically I've gone round and put a bit of double-sided tape using my snail adhesive, and then I've just stuck the paper directly onto it, turned the card over, and then I've gone round it with my craft knife just to go for the just to cut it off, and then I've used the corner punch to do the top 2 corners, and that is the left and the right hand side of the corner, but you'll see it in the pictures at the end. Thanks for watching.